Catholics the world over reject Pope's globalist Amazon Synod. Plus, who actually threw Pachamama into the Tiber? All that and more tonight from the editor's desk. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Matt coming to you once again from the offices of the Remnant newspaper. Quick housekeeping note. This weekend is the Catholic Identity Conference. It's here at last. We're all very excited. There will be about 500 people in attendance, and now that we've been sold out for a while, some folks are doing some crazy things, like threatening to break into the conference, sneak in the back, even sleep in the parking lot. And I understand today that we may have some ticket scalpers out. I don't know what that means, but somebody might be outside scalping tickets for the conference, which I think is probably a good thing. This thing sold out 2 months ago. It's just sort of taken on a life of its own. So, but not to be sad. The conference will be available through on-demand video. The Remnant TV crew, headed up by my son Walter, will be there, and they're going to provide high def, great video, same day access. So you'll be able to watch these conferences within about an hour of each talk being delivered. So go ahead and click the link below. Go to our website, click this link, click the banner, and help us make this the largest traditional Catholic sort of clans uniting clam bake in the world. We're all really excited about it. And I want to just also, before I start tonight's program, thank you for the tremendous show of support that you've all given to this Unite the Clans initiative. We just came back from Rome, and the first question that most of our friends and allies over in the Eternal City asked had to do with this Unite the Clans. How is the Unite the Clans initiative going? So people are talking about this all around the world, and I think it's very providential that everything kind of goes from bad to worse in the church, there's also this huge sign of hope that we are finally getting over ourselves and coming together to make a really important stand now on this battlefield against those who hate everything we are and everything that we believe. So thank you. Thank you for your support, and let's keep spreading the word. Hashtag Unite the Clans. It's working, and that's really a source of hope for all of us. Now, to tonight's program. Let's talk Pachamama, this ridiculous mascot of the Shamazon Synod. And I want to cut right to the chase, because there's been so much subterfuge, so much propaganda, so much outright lying in this media stunt that is the Amazon Synod. And I just want to talk about what's really going on here. I think most of us are becoming aware of it, but let's just cut to the chase. The Amazon Synod is not about listening to anyone. It's not about listening to the indigenous peoples. It certainly is not about worshiping this stupid prefab little figure of the naked pregnant lady either. And the way we know this is that this has been pre-planned for a long time. For years, the Amazon Synod has been in the works with Pope Francis's team and with his globalist friends, and they knew exactly what was going to happen. So when we went to Rome as journalists and they actually trotted their little people out every day to talk about the necessity of listening to the indigenous peoples, we knew that that was a lie, because for 2 years we had been covering this thing. They weren't listening to anyone in Rome. They trotted these poor indigenous people, they exploited them, they trotted them out in their silly feathers, which they don't wear in reality. They dress like we do down there, just like we don't wear coonskin caps and Daniel Boone clothing. Neither do the people of the Amazon. Yet the Vatican trotted them all out, pretending to be listening to them so that they could go forward with this globalist agenda of theirs. So don't be fooled by the feathers, and don't be cowed by the idea that, if you're against the Amazon Synod, you're a racist, like little Jimmy Martin is now out there saying, I'm told. The racist thing is a joke, I'm a racist, you're a racist. Don't you want to be a racist to be a racist? Everybody's talking racism. It's just a joke. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Don't worry about that, because that's just their way of trying to shut people up who disagree with what they're doing, or who are onto them, as many, many Catholics now are. We are onto them in the Vatican, and all they got left is, you're a racist. You don't like the others. Okay, whatever. So what is this all about? This whole thing is all about one thing. It's all about getting the guy in white, the Pope, the most recognized spiritual leader on the face of the earth. It's all about getting him to bless and approve this weird, bizarre fusion of the Novus Ordo and the New World Order. That's it in a nutshell. And if this is all new to you, if this sounds surprising or shocking, I really, not to put another commercial in here, but I really encourage you to subscribe to the Remnant newspaper right now, because we've been on to this for a long time. We've been reporting on this for years. For years, we've been reporting on what's really going on in Rome right now at the Amazon Synod. It's been a long time coming, which is why for us, it's particularly annoying to be told that this is all about listening. That is a bald-faced lie, and we know it. We can look in the archives of the Remnant and prove it. This whole agenda has been set a long time ago. It has nothing to do with listening to anyone. So back in March, for example, our columnist Elizabeth Yore, she covered the Vatican Eco-Conference, Eco-Socialism, the Eco-Conference of world religious leaders called, wait for it, Religions and the Sustainable Development Goals, listening to the cry of the earth and to the poor. That word, sustainable development, that's what it's all about. It's all about population control, environmentalism, climate change, all the far left political agenda of the globalists. That is what this is about. And there's another one of these conferences coming up. They're not going to give up. I mean, they are hell-bent on forcing this stuff through. The Pope himself now comes out with a video message advertising another Vatican conference in May, which is going to do the same thing. Check this out.
Carissimi, nell'enciclica Laudato Si ho invitato tutti a collaborare per custodire la nostra casa comune. Serve un patto educativo globale che ci educhi alla solidarietà universale, a un nuovo umanesimo. Per questo ho promosso un evento mondiale che si terrà il 14 maggio del 2020.
And of course, we've played clips of this guy dozens of times in these videos. Sometimes I think I might be overdoing it, but the man can't help but to give it all away. Here again is pro-abort, pro-contraception, Jeffrey Sachs.
It's a profound honor for me to have just a moment with all of you gathered as you are at the Sustainable Amazonas Foundation in Manaus, a wonderful foundation led by the most remarkable Dr. Virgilio Viana. And I know that you have with you also another most remarkable person, Bishop Marcelo Sanchez Sorondo, the Chancellor of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences and the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences.
We're joined now by the economist Jeffrey Sachs, director of the Earth Institute at Columbia University, served as an advisor to Bernie Sanders in his presidential campaign and continues to advise Bernie Sanders, who we just heard speaking outside the White House.
We're celebrating together the gift of Laudato Si, Pope Francis's new passionate, eloquent, wise, compelling encyclical on our common home.
We know that Democrats have a lot of power if they choose to use it. I expect them to use it. I expect Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and other progressive leaders to be saying we're not going to let our country get wrecked.
We're celebrating together the gift of Laudato Si.
We need a Democratic Party that is speaking the truth like Bernie. We need Keith Ellison at the DNC.
We're celebrating together the gift of Laudato Si.
This guy has made a career out of sounding the alarm. The sky is falling. Sounding this alarm of his about world overpopulation and fertility rates needing to be lowered and all of this. And how do you do that exactly, Jeff? Oh, that's right. Abortion and contraception and sex education training throughout the world. That's how you do it. And this guy is an honored guest of the Amazon Synod of Pope Francis. Doesn't that just sort of give away the whole store? What is this guy doing over there? 2 years ago, in the pages of the Remnant again, were reported on how Pope Francis actually had a private meeting with this guy, Jeff Sachs, and the UN Secretary General at the time, Ban Ki-moon, in his papal apartment. That's how intimate these guys are. And ever since then, Jeff Sachs has been just waltzing in and out of the Vatican, preparing the world, preparing the church for the Amazon Synod. So again, nothing to do with listening. Way back in 2017, again, in the pages of the Remnant, we published an article called The Vatican-UN Alliance, Architects of Death and Doom. And this one exposed how Pope Francis's Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences had invited none other than the nut job, Paul Ehrlich. They invited him to speak in the Vatican.
What are some of the other things that are involved in population programs? One of the things is actually, and it may start again now with Obama, we've gotten rid of the Mexico City policy, which the Republicans who want to kill women wherever they can have introduced many times. You got to understand, but when you refuse to give women access to safe abortion, all it does is kill women. There's also, we know, when you bring family planning programs into areas, you also tend to modernize and educate people. So one of the things is also making access to contraception worldwide for all sexually active people.
But he's even for punishing entire countries that don't accept radical population control measures. And again, it makes sense if you sat through some of the press conferences, as we did at the Amazon Synod, where we were told that the most serious, clear and present threat to humanity are population climate change deniers. They're doing the same kind of thing now. We must get in lockstep with this. It's almost a religion for these people. Which brings us full circle back to Pachamama, the mascot of the Amazon Synod. You see, why is she the mascot? This is the question. Why, when no one had ever heard of this silly little thing, this little wooden thing, why is she suddenly the talk of the town? It's because she is Mother Earth. Pachamama is the dragon goddess Mother Earth, according to the Incas, according to the indigenous peoples of South America. But again, the pagan Incas, they never actually worshipped the little statues of Pachamama, because that's not what she was. It's not actually an idol. She represents something else. They believe that Pachamama is Mother Earth herself, who now lives underground and quivered or cried out from underneath the mountains, and this formed a sort of earthquake. So when the indigenous peoples felt the earthquake, this they took as a warning from Earth Mother Goddess that she needed to be worshipped, that we need to worship the earth in order to prevent her from getting angry. So listen to the cry of the earth. We heard that again and again, the run up to the Synod. This is listen to the cry or the quiver of Pachamama. You get it? You see why she's all over Rome now? You see why she's such a big story? She is Mother Earth. She is the object of worship, not the statue again, but Mother Earth herself. So Francis now, he's partnering. I can't believe this. He's partnering with globalist, neo-pagan advocates of the same old pagan religion which deified the earth. You see what's happening? That's what this is. The earth. The domain of the serpent of the Garden of Eden, by the way, whose primordial realm was the New World, before it had been baptized by those evil missionaries, those evil conquistadors of Christendom. The Spanish, by the way, they knew they had their hands full when they arrived. They needed help. They needed a lot of help dealing with the Satanism that they found over here, with the human sacrifice, the bloodbath that was going on, and the conquest. One indigenous people, conquering another and enslaving hundreds of thousands of them and killing them in human sacrifice. It was pretty scary over here. So the Spanish conquistadors, they needed heavenly assistance to baptize this land of the serpent, where satanic human sacrifice had been going on for years, for centuries. And the sacrifice, by the way, was needed according to the indigenous peoples, to the pagans before they were baptized. The human sacrifice was needed in order to placate Mother Earth. And again, we heard this in the Synod Hall with the same sort of fanatical religious, fervor. We must do something. We cannot commit sins against the earth. I listened to a Brazilian bishop, who said we all have to confess our sins against Mother Earth, against the environment. It's all back, friends. That's what this is. That's what this whole thing is all about. So back now, 500-600 years. Enter Our Lady of Guadalupe, the hero of this whole thing in South America. Enter Our Lady of Guadalupe, who's speaking to Juan Diego now in his native Nahult language, the language of the Aztec Empire. This is an indigenous man. To him, she identified herself as Virgin Mary, quote, Mother of the very true deity. So let's put this all in perspective. Our Lady came to the land of the serpent to reclaim it for her son, because it had been in the domain or the control of the serpent. And so she comes down to earth in order to teach the indigenous peoples who the very true God is, because that God is not Mother Earth, but rather the God-man who lived and died in the real world, in this world, and who eventually died on a cross, so the indigenous peoples of the world could go to heaven with the rest of us, with all of us, the Redeemer of the world. That's why Our Lady of Guadalupe came down. And she was received by millions. To this day, she is iconic. She is the iconic symbol of the South American people. They love and revere her as mother. And she wasn't mentioned at the Amazon Synod. Isn't that odd? This is the Virgin Mother who appeared as the Mestiza, the woman of mixed race. And because of her, by 1539 now, just 8 years after the first apparition, almost 9 million indigenous peoples had been converted and were baptized by a very small group of Franciscan missionaries. It's just one of the most amazing missionary accomplishments that history has ever shown us. 9 million. This is why they hate the conquistadors and the Spanish missionaries that came over. They say nothing about the fact that those evil Spaniards, they settled this great civilization in South America, and that great cities such as Sao Paulo, Brazil, one of the largest cities in the world, was named by Jesuit missionaries after the missionary to the Gentiles, St. Paul himself. So they really formed that civilization. But all you hear in Rome at the Synod these days is this sort of, it was really bad what was going on, and we must apologize for what happened to the poor indigenous peoples by the Catholic conquest of their native lands, you see. But anyway, 9 million baptized because of Our Lady of Guadalupe. So it really is stunningly ironic that at the Amazon Synod, Archbishop Erwin Kreutler, one of our favorite little synod representatives, by the way, he helped to write the Instrumentum Laboris. He also, as we showed you last time, is perfectly 100% naturally in favor of women priests, not women deacons, but women priests. This character bragged. He said, "I have never in my life baptized an indigenous person, and also do not have the intention of ever doing so." And he's heading up Francis's big dog and pony show, the Amazon Synod. It's no wonder Our Lady of Guadalupe was ignored at this thing. And she's just one, by the way. She's just one Marian intervention, if you will, in this effort to reclaim the continent for Christ from the serpent. Our Lady of Aparecida was also ignored at the Amazon Synod, of course.
There are several shrines that honor the Virgin Mary, but the biggest one is in Brazil. Every year, millions of people travel there to honor Our Lady of Aparecida. The shrine is precisely in the city of Aparecida, which is located between Sao Paulo and Rio. Last year, it had more than 10 million visitors. The month with the highest number was October, with more than 1.2 million visitors.
And this is that beautiful devotion to Our Lady, the little statue that appeared. And she's called Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception. She appeared miraculously. Some fishermen found her in the river waters back in 1717. And guess what? She became Queen of Brazil. The indigenous peoples loved Our Lady under these forms, whether it's Guadalupe or Aparecida. They loved her. So why was she not mentioned? This isn't some abstract little devotion, out-of-the-way backwater devotion. On December 8th, 1904, Pope St. Pius X declared Our Lady of Aparecida Queen of Brazil, and a coronation was made by the cardinal down in Rio. This was serious stuff, serious outreach to the indigenous peoples and to those the Mother of God whom they venerated and loved as their mother. So in 1931, the whole country was officially consecrated to Our Lady of Aparecida. In Sao Paulo, Brazil, Our Lady of Aparecida is the second largest basilica in the world, friends. This is a big deal. Why was she not mentioned at the Amazon Synod? Why was she ignored? Does anyone have an answer for that? And interestingly enough, also, where the population-controlling fruitcakes like Jeff Sachs and Paul Ehrlich are concerned, Our Lady of Aparecida is the patroness of pregnant women and newborn babies. Gee, maybe that's why she was ignored. Not one mention of the Queen of Brazil, who appeared, by the way, in 1717, the very year that organized Freemasonry began with the founding of the Grand Lodge of England on June 24th, 1717. Francis tells us that this new church of his is the church with the Amazon face. I would argue that his new church is the church with the Amazonic face. That is, a face of Freemasonry, because this is what this is all about. Just the big one world vision, the one world church, the new world order, the brotherhood of man. That's what this is all about, friends. So it stands to reason, of course, that Our Lady of Fatima was also summarily ignored at the Amazon Synod, even despite the fact that just this year, in May, Brazil was officially consecrated to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, to Our Lady of Fatima, in the presidential palace and in the presence of the president of Brazil himself, President Bolsonaro. Bishop Rafan there, a traditional Catholic, was there. We did a program on this. There's video of the whole thing, praying the Hail Mary, singing the Marian hymns as they consecrated Brazil down in South America to Our Lady of Fatima. You think the Amazon Synod may have carried that out? She was ignored completely by these guys. So what am I saying? Let's just think about this for a moment. What is the real evil of the Amazon Synod? Women deacons? No, I would argue it's not. It's not the women deacons. That's part of it. That's why Francis is very eager to join forces with the globalists, because he wants to tear down the old European sort of patriarchal, hierarchical church of Christendom. But that's not the real reason. That's not the real evil of the Amazon Synod. The real evil should now be coming into focus. Our Lady, Queen of Heaven and Earth, Mother of God, was ignored by the princes of the church at the Amazon Synod, while the old pagan goddess that she replaced 500 years ago was ceremoniously carried back into the heart of Christendom, into the Basilica of St. Peter's itself, and blessed by the supposed vicar of Christ on earth. They brought her back. They brought the pagan goddess back. I don't know exactly how one processes this, what they're doing to the church and to everything we believe in and everything we love and everything we hold sacred. There's some young fellas that had enough, and we've all been talking about that. Thank God. Because I hope when they look back at the Amazon Synod of 2019, it's like Boniface and his tree chopping ceremony. It's like St. Jerome slapping the bishop, the Arian bishop. I hope what they remember from this synod is when the fellas got together and grabbed these stupid little things, the Pachamama, and threw them into the Tiber. That would be great if that's what the Amazon Synod is remembered for. Because now these guys are in trouble, supposedly. There are rumors floating around the Eternal City that the Vatican is going to be possibly investigating these young men who famously threw Pachamama into the Tiber. These young men, by the way, they call themselves the Catholic Maccabees, and my hat is off to them. But the Vatican wants to find them and maybe even prosecute them. You know what, Francis? Go right ahead. Because guess what? I am Catholic Maccabees. I threw Pachamama into the Tiber, and I'm proud of it. I threw her in there, along with millions of faithful Catholics the world over. So go right ahead. Come and get us. Lock us up in your Regina Coeli prison. See how far you get, because guess what? The Catholics of the world are onto you. And we stand with these new Maccabees, and we say to you, Holy Father, at this darkest moment in the history of our church, we say to you, for God's sake, pack up your pagan goodies, and you and your globalist pals get the literal hell out of our church, because we've had enough. Our Lady of Aparecida, Our Lady of Guadalupe, Our Lady of Fatima, pray for us. And Viva Cristo Rey. I'm Michael Matt for Remnant TV, and we'll see you next week from the Catholic Identity Conference. God bless.